Hey folks, this is Vint with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today I'm going to teach you how to play Alien Frenzy, a card game with aliens. This is a game that's coming to Kickstarter soon. According to my information, the game will be launching on August 13th or 14th of this year, depending on your time zone. The developers are actually located in Australia. So before we get started, I just wanted to quickly set your expectations. The prototype that I received will not be fully reflective of the finished product. In fact, I'm just going to read off what they said in their email here. There may be some minor aesthetic changes to the cards, game box, or rulebook. We're not anticipating any rule changes, but we will be having the rulebooks edited prior to the final print run, so the wording may change. The game box that we will be sending you will be the base game box that will be offered during the Kickstarter. We have a different design for the deluxe box that will include the base game as well as the expansion as an all-in-one. Also, the box insert in the prototypes is homemade, as our prototype manufacturer doesn't offer box inserts. For bulk production, the box insert will be much nicer. So that's just a quick heads up. The prototype that I received was the all-in-one. It includes the core game and the expansion, and that's what I'll be showing you today. However, just keep in mind, it is prototype and still subject to change. All right, let's go ahead and move on over to the table, and I'll show you how the game is played. Alien Frenzy supports 2 to 4 players. It's for ages 14 and up, and the average playtime is 10 to 20 minutes per player. So what is Alien Frenzy all about? Well, this is an elimination style card game where in the first half of the game, players are trying to manage and build the best hand of cards that they can. And in the second half of the game, the aliens have invaded and players are trying to survive for as long as possible with the cards they've managed to get. The player last standing will end up winning that game. So before we actually get into specifics, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the different components I was set. And again, this is the deluxe version that does include the expansion rules here. And the main gist of this game is that there's 2 different decks of cards. The gray-backed cards here are called the supply deck, and then the green-backed cards here are called the invasion deck. And we'll get into specifics in a little bit. But as you can see, the core set comes with both kinds of cards, and the expansion comes with both kinds of cards. We'll go over the expansion at the end of the video, but for now we're going to focus on the core stuff. Now this other stuff over here to the side is just more for fluff. The developers were kind enough to send me some stickers and some other cool things. There's also this amazing pin. I just have to give a quick shout out to this. I hope it's available for Kickstarter people, just because this is amazing. I love this. So special thank you to developers for sending this particular pin. To set up the game, you're going to take the green-backed invasion deck, shuffle this up, and put it off to the side for now. As I indicated earlier, there are 2 different phases to a game, and the first phase you're going to be solely using this supply deck. The invasion deck does not come into play until phase 2. So we're going to put this off to the side for now. We're also going to take one of these 3 UFO cards and shuffle that into the supply deck here. Now to show you what the supply deck looks like, I did sort of just lay out some samples for you. There are action cards, there's some character cards, and the UFO cards. And each player to start the game will get 7 of these cards to form their starting hand. And the whole goal of phase 1 is not to draw a UFO, although it is very possible that you actually draw a UFO as part of your starting hand. This UFO card will pretty much signal that the aliens have invaded and phase 2 will commence. Before we get into all of that though, let's just quickly show you some of the action cards and some of the character cards. These action cards do exactly what they pretty much imply. They do something special, and what's cool is that they can be played in either phase 1 or phase 2, and they have a different effect depending on what phase you're currently in. This Swapsies, for example, does something special in phase 1. Choose a card from your hand and place it face down in front of another player. Randomly take a card from their hand. They then add your card to their hand, and then phase 2 as above. So some cards do the same thing, others do not. So it all depends on what phase you're in and what cards you play. So action cards pretty much allow you to modify rules and mess up players or help yourself in some way. Characters, on the other hand, they are your primary defense against the aliens in phase 2. You're trying your best to seed your hand with these characters of different colors in order to battle and to face off the different alien colors that you'll be seeing as part of Phase 2. The gold one here is sort of like a wild, and it can be used to battle any alien card in Phase 2, which is kind of nice. And then you've got some other ones. You've got like red, green, and blue characters, and they face off against the red, green, and blue aliens respectively. The gray ones, they allow you to face off against an alien, but typically you don't get any sort of special reward for doing so. And as you can see down here, they also can be played either during Phase 1 or Phase 2. As an example here, Joy Venden. Phase 1, insert a UFO card into the supply deck, and then in Phase 2, face a blue alien to draw one card from the supply deck. So by playing these characters during Phase 2, you'll be able to fend off against aliens, and if you match the right color, you'll get a special bonus. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Just at this point in time, keep in mind that the supply deck here is made up of action cards, UFO cards, and character cards. And as a reminder, you're going to shuffle one of these into the supply deck here, and the other two simply go off to the side for now to be used in later. And each player is going to draw 7 cards to form their starting hand. So taking turns in Phase 1 is fairly simple. The player to the left of the dealer will take the first turn of the game, and typically players will have a hand of 7 cards, and they will be a mix of different characters and different action cards. And during a player's turn, what they're going to do is they're going to play a card from their hand, take the printed effect from the appropriate phase, and then draw a new card. So in the terms of Phase 1 here, if I played Second Chance, I would follow the Phase 1 effect, put it into the discard pile, and then draw a new card to replace it. That's it. And again, your primary goal in this phase is not to draw a UFO card in order to signal the next phase. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get a hand of these character cards, and preferably the gold ones because they're really powerful. But you're trying to get a hand of these character cards to fend off against the aliens in Phase 2. But this is pretty much all you're doing in Phase 1. You're going to be playing a card, and then you're going to be drawing a card. And of course, these different action cards and different characters will have different abilities that you'll be observing as you play these cards. And turns will continue clockwise until someone does draw a UFO card. Now, as players do this, they may end up playing a character. Even though you're trying to build characters up in your hand, you still may play a character into the discard pile and take the Phase 1 printed effect. And you'll note that a lot of these characters will say the same thing. Insert a UFO card into the supply deck. That is called sighting a UFO. And what that means is you're going to take one of these spare UFOs that you did not shuffle into the deck as part of setup. Again, there's always one in here as part of setup, but you can add more over time by sighting UFOs. If you play a card to the discard pile like this, like the character here, and it tells you to insert a UFO card into the supply deck, you're going to either secretly or publicly take this and insert it somewhere into the deck. So you could, if you wanted to, speed things along by putting it closer to the top. There's a bit of strategy there and sort of, trying to get your opponents to draw the UFO card because bad things happen when they do. So what happens when you actually draw a UFO card? So let's say it's my turn and I've built up a nice little hand of characters here. And again, your hand size will always be 7. And I'm thinking, well, they're all characters, so I really don't want to get rid of any of them. However, again, as a reminder, the gray ones can be used to fend off aliens during Phase 2, but they typically don't have any special reward for doing so. If you match red to red or green to green or blue to blue, you do get a bonus. Whereas in this case with the gray characters, you can use it to fend off an alien, but you don't get a bonus for playing it. So I'm probably just going to play this card to get rid of it. Discard with no effect during Phase 1. So I'm going to play that here onto the discard pile. And let's say that I draw, oh, there's the dreaded UFO card. Now, I totally didn't plan that, right? So it actually says right on the card what you're supposed to do. And depending on what phase it is, this is what you're going to do. In Phase 1, Phase 2 invasion has begun. Reveal this card immediately, then take the first 3 turns. Now what the rulebook says to do is you're supposed to also take the unused UFO cards along with the rest of the discard pile, take this in, and then shuffle this back into the supply deck. I'm going to put this onto the bottom for now, just for example purposes, but that's what you're supposed to do. And then the UFO card is supposed to remain as the sole card in the discard pile. So yeah, the UFO card does have instructions on it, but there's more to it per the rulebook. So As the person that drew the UFO card, I now have to take the next 3 turns back to back because I am supposedly on the front lines of this invasion. Now, I'm going to be taking 3 turns back to back. However, if I get eliminated during that time, play simply passes to the next player. So this is the part of the game where it's going to get a little hairy. You're going to be trying to survive for as long as possible. And taking 3 turns in a row means you're probably going to be fending off against 3 different aliens, and you're going to hope that you have the cards necessary to stop yourself from being eliminated. Now, before we move on to Phase 2, I wanted to quickly show you what you'll be seeing in the Invasion deck, and that's this greenback deck here that we did not see during Phase 1. Now, there are some of these Relax cards. This is sort of like, breathe a sigh of relief. Nothing's going to happen to you right now, but it just says end your turn without playing a character card. You don't have to worry about fending off against any sort of alien. So you want to draw these cards during Phase 2 because aliens are bad. Now, as far as the aliens are concerned, there are 3 different colors. There's red, green, and blue, and I'll go ahead and show you some close-ups here. And it even says here on the bottom what they do. Single alien. You're attacked by a blue alien, play 1 character card. And again, we'll get into that later, but I just wanted to quickly show you what these look like. Again, you've got red ones, you've got green ones, you've got blue ones, and you've even got multicolored ones over here where you have to kind of fend off against 2 different colors. You're attacked by a red alien and a green alien. Play 2 character cards to defend against this attack. So these are probably the worst in the core set in the sense that you have to have 2 characters in order to fend off against these aliens. And as an aside, the expansion adds so much more to this, okay? But for right now, this is the core set and this is what we're looking at. So this deck here, again, comprises of Relax cards and different kinds of aliens that will be attacking players during Phase 2. So during Phase 2, a player will typically have the option to play a card from their hand into the supply deck discard pile and take the printed effect. These are good for action cards that you still might have in your hand and you want to sort of change the rules a little bit in the meantime. Now this is optional. You do not have to do this because if you have a hand of character cards, you're going to want to keep these in your hand to face off against possible alien attacks. So the first part of a player's turn in Phase 2 is optionally play a card from your hand into the supply deck discard pile here. And then you are forced to draw after that one of these invasion deck cards. And if it happens to be an alien, you have to play a character in order to fend it off. A player is eliminated when they have no more characters left in their hand. That is including during a player's turn. Now, if a player happens to have only 1 card left in their hand and they happen to fend off against an alien and they discard this one to defend against this one, because these 2 colors match, they do get a reward. In this case, face a red alien to draw 1 supply card. So if they happen to fend off against this alien by playing this red card and they draw a supply card here, because this is a character, I am not technically eliminated from the game yet. Had this been an action card, I would have no more character cards in my hand and I would be eliminated at that point. So again, just to sort of recap what you're doing, during a player's turn, you're going to optionally play a card from your hand into the supply discard pile here to take its printed effect. You're going to draw a card from here and then possibly face off against an alien that might have shown up. And again, if you happen to match the color, you get a bonus. Now you can still play a green character if you don't have a red card, for example. Let's say I didn't have a red character card. I can still play a green one to combat this one, but I do not get any sort of bonus for doing so. So I could, if I wanted to, I'm not saying I'm gonna, but I could play this green character here to fend off against this red alien here. And so as long as I've got other cards in my hand, other character cards in my hand, I am safe and still alive for this particular phase. Now, it is possible that players can still draw a UFO card from the supply deck. As we kind of went over earlier, whenever a player first gets into Phase 2, they're going to take all of the cards from the discard pile minus the UFO card that they drew, and any that were off to the side and put it into the supply deck. And it's possible to draw more UFO cards during Phase 2. And you're going to typically be able to draw these cards by matching like character colors. So if I played a red one to fend off against this red alien here, here, I would be able to draw a card as a reward. And there are some cards in the alien deck, some relax cards that actually let you draw cards. In this case, this relax +1. End your turn without playing a character card, draw 1 card from the supply deck. So there are some relax cards in here too that will allow you to draw cards from here. And again, it is very possible that you're going to draw a UFO card as part of that process. And typically, in this phase, there is no phase 3 to move on to. So during phase 2, you're going to reveal this card immediately and then draw another supply card. After that, the next player must take 1 additional turn. So you're kind of screwing over your opponent at that point, and they must take 2 turns back to back. Just to give you a quick high-level overview of everything I just went over, players will shuffle this supply deck of cards and include 1 UFO card into said deck. Players will get a hand of 7 cards. These other UFO cards go off to the side for now. Players will not use this invasion deck until phase 2. During phase 1, you're going to play a card, then draw a card. And when you play a card, it's either going to be a character or some kind of special ability, like this Fate Changer action card here. You're going to play it to the discard pile, take the phase 1 printed effect, and then draw a new card. And this will continue around the table until someone draws the UFO card, in which case you move on to phase 2. All of these UFO cards that are not part of this deck yet will now be shuffled in. Also, everything in the discard pile will also be shuffled in. The one that was drawn, however, will stay here in the discard pile. So these get shuffled back into the supply deck here. And the player that drew this UFO card will now take 3 turns back to back. Phase 2 actions, again, very simple. You have the option to play a card to the discard pile here and take the printed effect, but at the end of your turn, you must draw 1 of these cards in order to possibly face off against an alien or draw more cards from the supply deck, depending on what you get. If you do get an alien, you have to face it and play a character to combat it. You can play a character of any color in order to combat it and move on to the next person, but it behooves you to match the same color in order to get the bonus. And the bonus is printed right here. Face a red alien to draw 1 card from the supply deck. So I could discard this one in order to fend off against the alien and then draw a new card here. And luckily it's a character, so I can use this character in the future to then face off against further red aliens. As a reminder, gray cards do not give you a bonus for combating aliens. Gold ones, on the other hand, are sort of like a wild card. You can face any alien to draw 2 supply cards. And this will continue around the table with players trying to face off against aliens and be the last player standing. If a player has no more character cards in their hand at any time, they will lose. The exception to that rule is if you play your last character to fend off against an alien, but they happen to match in color, you can draw a card as a reward, but if it's a character, you stay in the game. If it's not a character, you are eliminated. Now, I did promise you a quick peek into the expansion at the end of the video, and I sort of laid out all of the cards here. We'll go into each one, no problem. The UFO card here is an additional one that gets added into the expansion. It acts just like the other one in phase 1. It signals phase 2. In phase 2, you get to draw a new supply card immediately, but the next player must take 1 additional turn. So this card simply gets added into the supply of UFO cards that already come with the base game. Now, the expansion does come with 3 new alien types. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Alliance. So this is an interesting one. This particular alien does not attack you. Instead, it offers you an alien alliance. Attack a player of your choice with a red, green, or blue alien. So you can actually take that against another player. If you draw this, you can combat another player and force them to play a character. So you want to draw these in order to get other players out of the game. Then you've got these here, these stealth ones. These are kind of nasty. They cannot be color matched. You're attacked by a stealth alien. Discard 1 character card, then reveal another invasion. So not only can you not color match them, even with the gold ones, you still have to face off against another card from the invasion deck after you deal with this one. So this is bad news bears all around. You do not want to draw that one. The Mimic, on the other hand, could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. So this mimic does not attack you. However, you're going to leave it sit out for a while. End your turn without playing a character card. The next invasion card revealed is duplicated, and that could be anything. You could draw another mimic, in which case there are now 2 mimics out waiting to double duplicate, I guess, the next card that comes out. So if this alliance alien comes out, then it's considered 2 of these rather than just 1. If you end up drawing a stealth alien and a mimic is ready to go, you'll have to face off against 2 of these guys. So it gets really hairy. On the other hand, if you happen to draw, say, a relax +2, you can take this card twice. So this could be either good or bad depending on whose turn it is and who's drawing the card. So this adds a lot more chaos. There are a ton of examples here in the rulebook as far as like what you'll see with these mimics. As you can see on the very top left, you know, if you draw a blue card following a mimic, you're attacked by 2 aliens. If you draw a multicolored alien card, which is 2 aliens and that you have to face off against, you have to duplicate that. So you have to face off against 4 aliens at the same time. And I already kind of went over the relax card down there, in which case you would draw 4, and so on. And mimics, again, will sort of duplicate themselves and enhance the final card that does end up coming out that is not a mimic. So these mimics will add tons of chaos to your gameplay. Luckily, players will have some new cards at their disposal to help them out. All of these cards are from the expansion. You've got some new action cards, some new character cards, and if you're ever wanting to not use the expansion, if you happen to get it, just take out all of the cards that say expansion over here on the side. All of these cards say expansion on them. And we'll go over each one just for your reference. There's Super Safety, for example, and again, this is an action card that can be played during Phase 1 or Phase 2. As an example, the card you draw this turn may be from anywhere in the supply deck. The card played by the next player has no effect. During Phase 2, end your turn without revealing an invasion card. The next player may not play an action card. So, you know, there's some really cool abilities here. I'm not going to read all of these off to you, but I will sort of zoom in on them so you can kind of pause the video if you want and sort of read them for yourself. I'll go ahead and just get really close there. And as reference, this is the View 2. This is the boost, so you can kind of zoom in on that, pause it if you'd like. And then lastly, you've got this Rad Reverse, another action card. A lot of text here to read. Again, pause if you want to see any of this in greater detail. But some really cool abilities that will help players out as they play. And again, there are some new characters as well, red, green, blue, and gold. And again, the gold ones are the wild. I'll go ahead and take a sampling of each one. Here's an example of a red character. Insert a UFO. This is, again, spotting a UFO during Phase 1. Phase 2, face a red alien to randomly steal 1 card from a player of your choice. That's different from actually drawing a card. So there's some new cool abilities here. Face a green alien to randomly steal a card. So these in the upper left here tell you that this is a special kind of steal card. There's also this little medical symbol as well. So all of these medical symbol cards have the same effect. Face a blue alien to draw the last played character card from the discard pile. So you're pretty much like healing. You're taking back something from the discard pile. And of course, you've got your other standard shield ones here. Face a blue alien to draw 1 card from the supply deck. That's standard in the core set. But you've got these new like medics, and you've got these like steal a card from another player cards that will also add some more chaos to your game. And there you have it, a quick look at Alien Frenzy, a card game with aliens. Hopefully this video will help you out so that when you open the box for the first time, you'll know what you're getting into. As a reminder, I typically don't go over every single rule found in the rulebook, and I don't go over every single card found in these kinds of games. But the game does come with these nice little reference cards here, for example, what to do during Phase 1, what to do during Phase 2, and what I went over today is pretty much probably 90% of what you'll need to get started right away. So as a reminder, the game will be launching on Kickstarter sometime in mid-August, depending on your time zone and all that good stuff. Keep an eye out for it, and I'll put links in the below description for you so that you can check out the game for yourself. This is Vince. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you all next time. Take care.